Hey guys, it's Selwen here, and as some of you might noticed, WoW videos are back since the release of 8.2, and why is that? Why have I decided to come back to WoW and more specifically make videos for it? And to answer that, we need to talk about 8.2 and classic WoW.
Welcome to Nazjatar. I've been waiting for you.
So 8.2, it got me back. Does it have the ability to bring some of you back as well? Because I'm aware that a lot of my subscribers also quit BFA when I did, others before, others after, which is completely understandable. BFA hasn't been the most amazing expansion, and the reason for many people to quit ends up being very similar. Class design, lack of meaningful content, Azerite grind, the state of gearing, and the list goes on and on. That being said, did 8.2 fix all those issues? Well, simply put, no, far from it. Many of these faults are fundamentally tied to the expansion itself. They're not gonna be fixed with a patch. Only a new expansion will do so, with things like classes, for an example. And on that front, things are looking somewhat bright, as the recent video from Eon himself went on to say the issues with the class design currently.
After a lot of reflection and ongoing discussion, ultimately I would like to say that we agree with that feedback.
Hell, it's about time.
So I'm quite hopeful that 9.0 will do some justice to classes again, to at least be on par with Legion or WoD. My standards aren't very high right now. However, like the title states, 8.2 is a step in the right direction for BFA, and not really just for BFA, but for the next expansion and WoW as a whole. Now, I haven't seen all the content, depending at what time you're watching this video, but at the time of recording, I haven't seen the new raid and I haven't seen the new season, but that's somewhat predictable as what's gonna happen. The new raid is looking pretty decent, as to be expected, with some really juicy lore, and Mythic Plus is what it is, with the new affix not looking as fun as the previous, and PvP, well, I don't really do it, so I don't have an opinion. So that leaves the two new zones and the essences, which are essentially the bread and butter of this patch, Nazjatar and Mechagon. And simply put, I've really enjoyed them. World content is an aspect of WoW that has been severely lacking, even in Legion, but especially in BFA. It felt bare bones, meaningless, and boring. 8.2 to some extent has fixed that. That said, this will depend on you as a player. So first, looking at Nazjatar and all that we got to do there, is a typical new zone that you've come to expect for the past 4 to 5 expansions. Here's a new zone filled with new daily content to do that moves the main story along. On its surface, there's nothing really new. Visually, it looks pretty impressive, outside of the areas that are ripped from Azuna or Suramar, though it's done with reason and it makes sense lore-wise, and didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. And for most people, you will do the zone daily for the sake of reputation to get things like flying or the essences, and that's a true and valid argument. But there's a lot to do here that we either have not seen in a while or that we haven't seen ever. The first big takeaway I got from Nazjatar, along with Mechagon, was the reintroduction of daily quests. Now, world quests are good. They came in Legion to fix the supposed problem with daily quests. They were pretty fun in Legion and had their pros and cons, just like daily quests had. So personally, I'm of the opinion that world quests didn't fix anything, it was just another system that replaced dailies with an equal amount of faults. One of those faults is that with world quests, you don't feel as connected with the reputation that you are working towards to. There's generally a lack of meaningfulness and disconnect with a set reputation, faction, as you jump from dot to dot on your map and go about your way. It also never feels like you accomplished something. Sure, doing every world quest in a zone, if you have the mental capacity for it, can feel good. It never was as satisfying as seeing your map filled with exclamation points, ready to give you the rewards for your efforts. None of them have become iconic or memorable as, say, the Netherwing. in Shadowmoon Valley back in DBC, or the Argent Tournament reputation in Wrath, regardless of your opinion on the quite crappy mounted combat, and many others from the earlier expansions, DBC, Wrath, Mists of Pandaria, Cataclysm. In Legion, I always wondered why Blizzard didn't decide to use the world quests in conjunction with daily quests. There was no reason to. They could perfectly exist in sync and benefit from each other's positives and negatives. We saw little of that in Argus and the Broken Shore, but at its core was still mostly world quests, with some weekly, daily type of quests attached. Well, it took them a while, but they finally did it. Now, the dailies on themselves are nothing out of this world, as some of them are annoying as hell, reminding me of Classic, like spending 30 minutes looking for goddamn seaweeds, but like I said, a step in the right direction. Because again, I profess, in my opinion, the daily quests does fill in the gaps, the faults that world quests left in the game, and in fact, world quests now essentially feel like bonus objectives in these new zones to your dailies. This is something that at first feels quite minor, but in actuality and indirectly can make the daily routine more rewarding and more fulfilling. It's been days and I still love finishing my route around Nazjatar or Mechagon, with the classic circle around the zone and delivering all them quests and feel like I'm done with this for the day. I feel far more accomplished than, say, doing 5 or 4 or 6 world quests in Asmir, and the hub feels like a hub. But even when I'm done with the world quests and daily quests, there is still stuff to do. I can work towards my reputation or my progress with the zone by farming rares or hidden quests, and the rares feel like rares again. And on that I can understand the frustration of the long spawn timers if you're chasing mounts and the like, but doing it this way, rares feel far more exciting than the rares back in Legion or the rares back in Kultiras and Zandalar. And then there's other small things that add some extra spice to the zone, like the PvP events in the invasion or the bodyguard system. In general, it can be what you would expect from a new zone in a content patch in WoW, but it has some improvements, which is the biggest thing to point out. Now, I would like to see even more improvements, more innovation. The addition of dailies in full synergy with the world quests is great, but let's get more fun things to do up in here besides collecting seaweeds and killing 25 hydras, and have some quests a bit more difficult instead of face rolling it all the time. That would be great. That said though, I'm even considering getting done the ultimate Nazjatar achievement to get the crab mount. Not just because it's a goddamn crab mount, but because, well, for the time being, it's fun to play in. Especially now that I got flying, traversing the zone got less time consuming since it's riddled with annoying cliffs. Now, Mechagon, like many have said, it is the better zone, and well, I have to agree. What's funny about it is that Mechagon has no real implications with the rest of the game. There's no gear benefits outside of trinkets and rings or the flying. And all the grind that we do there is just for the progression of the zone. It's self-contained progression with that Soda profession system. Why do we do it? Well, it's fun and feels rewarding. Unlike Nazjatar, this is a zone fully based on dailies, outside of 2 world quests, which is quite surprising to see in current WoW, and it's great. Again, there's no problem mixing the 2 systems. But the best part about Mechagon is that it functions like the Timeless Isle. You make your own fun. You can go there and do the dailies and be done, or you can stay there and grind, killing rares, farming scrap metal. You decide. You are in control, you decide how you progress, more so than in Nazjatar, making you feel like you always have something to do, and that's something that has been missing from WoW for quite a while. You playing the game instead of the game playing you. And it's so great to see because I vividly remember the old reputations or just the way that the game worked back in the earlier expansions or even classic, as in I could do the dailies or quests, but I also had the option to just grind, be mobs or items to further progress my character with the zone or with the reputation or whatever, and I could do that on my own pace at any time of day. And Mechagon does all of that beautifully. The feeling of logging in and always having something to work towards too in the world outside of just the gear grind, which, let's be honest, isn't great right now, it's awesome and has made me want to get more into the collector meta, and well, it is pretty damn fulfilling. And as a side note, I also love the fact that Mechagon just reminds me a lot of Nier Automata. Great game, by the way, you should play it. Now, outside of the new zones and world content that got me hooked in the game again, we have the essences. And the essences, well, they're much better than the regrind of traits, I can tell you that much. But like Mechagon and to some extent Nazjatar, they're also a piece of content that I feel that I'm in control over. I can decide to chase after each one of them or not. They're just there and I can work towards them, and once I get them, they will be mine until the end of the expansion. And I really love that, and again, I really miss that in WoW. In terms of gameplay, it's alright, it's a glorified trinket pretty much. Depending on your class, it might go from pretty cool to just but the acquisition of them I find pretty enjoyable, and that's an extremely important part as well, the acquisition part, especially since they're gonna be gone in the next expansion like I said, so I'm kinda glad that they're not this super cool ability, they just work as your grind, because this expansion is all based on that Azerite grind, on that artifact grind. So be 8.2 or 8.3 expected to be around these same grinds. And well, for now, they work. Overall, 8.2 is not perfect, far from it, but I'm having fun. I feel that the things I do are worthwhile, and that makes me excited to play the game again. I've set goals for myself, not just in gearing and raids and dungeons, but in the world, and that got me excited to make videos again for all you guys. I just wish I had more time to make even more and cover every aspect of WoW, but that's not really feasible for the time being, and we still have Classic to come soon too, which is great, likely coming just on time where 8.2 starts getting a bit stale, and I'm looking forward to create content for that as well, guides and whatever else, and hopefully maintain a balance between both versions of the game. Now 8.2 might work for you, it might not. Essences are decent and might make some classes better to play, but they are not fixed because of it, far from it. And world content and collecting isn't for everybody, so I can see a lot of people returning for 8.2 and beyond because of it, but many others just waiting out for 9.0, and I won't blame you for that, as classes are still crap and gearing is the same old RNG garbage as well. It really just depends on who you are, but is a good patch indeed, and safe to say the biggest patch ever, and for me has been pretty great. It got me back at least, right? And that's saying something. I'm really curious though to what's coming in 8.3, mostly for lore reasons with the almighty anti-tentacles, but I'm mostly excited for the next expansion. We have all been heavily burned by Blizzard lately, but I'm regaining some optimism. I'm wary, and I think we should all be wary. The past has told us that wholeheartedly, but seeing this patch, seeing Blizzard actually listening to us to some extent, 9.0 might give us something truly fun to play through. The potential themes of dragon-based expansion or death or old god-based sounds awesome. Classes are likely to get a huge revamp as well, and general world gameplay seems to be getting better. Baby steps. Alright guys, that does it for this video, and hopefully you enjoy WoW to some extent, like I am now. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon.